With tax hikes for all Americans looming, some Republicans say they are ready to vote on raising rates for upper-income taxpayers to avoid higher rates for a majority of the country. Now, during his campaign, President Barack Obama pledged to extend tax cuts for families making less than $250,000 a year. However, many members of the GOP were hesitant to raise taxes on anyone. U.S. House Speaker John Boehner and President Obama have been negotiating in hope of avoiding the so-called fiscal cliff. The words that we keep hearing over and over. Washington, D.C. correspondent for the Oklahoma and NewsOK.com, Chris Castile, joins us now to provide more insight on the negotiations. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Dave.
Well, Chris, we're hearing movement, but are they making progress, and what are the hangups?
Well, hopefully one of these days we won't have to use the term fiscal cliff anymore, but the hangups right now are still the same ones they've been for weeks, which is really every fiscal matter that confronts the lawmakers in D.C. and the president, which is taxes, spending, and entitlements, Medicare and Social Security. And they're still trying to reach some kind of agreement on everything, really. At least the framework for an agreement, at least, some kind of stopgap measure that would head off the tax hikes that are going to be automatic on January 1st, the spending cuts that are going to be automatic on January 2nd. So really, there's been a lot of movement, and they're getting closer. I think the differences are narrowing, but there's still just probably a lot of negotiating to go. The hang-ups really right now that are getting most of the attention, of course, are on taxes. And as you said, everybody's taxes. Every penny anybody makes is going to be subject to a higher rate on January 1st if Congress does nothing. That's if they do nothing. So what they're arguing over now is, who to protect from those tax hikes. And as you said, the president, all during the campaign, said, I want to extend the current tax rates for everybody who makes, all families who make under $250,000, and let the rest of them go back up to the Clinton era tax rates. And that's really what they're negotiating now. Where is that sweet spot in the tax individual income tax rates? And as I said, if they do nothing, if they cannot pass a bill, they cannot get a bill that passes the House, the Senate, and signed by the president, everybody's taxes go up on January 1st.
Chris, let's take this to the Oklahoma angle, and what are the Oklahoma members saying?
Well, a lot of them are kind of non-committal about a bill because there really isn't a piece of legislation that anybody's seen yet. So really, you just have to kind of talk concepts with them right now. And some of them are open, or some of them are trying to kind of confront the reality of the situation, which is you do nothing, everybody's taxes go up. So if you do something, if you have a bill that at least protects the middle class and up, which is the current Republican proposal in the House to protect everybody who makes $1 million or less, then you've at least headed off tax hikes for 99% of the American people. Even under the president's position, which is $250,000 and below to protect them, it's more than 90% of the American people. So what some of the Oklahomans have said is, I'm willing to vote for a bill that would have higher rates for the wealthy as long as it protects the rates for the middle class.
Well, Chris, I think a lot of the middle class and many Americans would wonder the following question. Since there's still debate, will Congress be in D.C. for the whole Christmas week?
They will. The plan now is that they'll leave for Christmas Day and come back. They'll be here Christmas Eve, go home, come back the day after Christmas. We'll see. There's always talk like that up here, whenever they're close or whenever they're trying to, negotiate something like this. You just have to kind of plan for the worst, which is we're not leaving until it's done. A lot of people think they'll be here all this weekend and maybe into the early part of next week, and whether they have to, come back after Christmas remains to be seen. The House is going to hold a couple of votes, maybe 3 votes Thursday. They're kind of test votes to see where the House Republicans are on all of this, and that will, that should shed some kind of light on, how long it's going to take. But, Representative Tom Cole, the Republican from Moore, said yesterday that even if they go off the so-called cliff, they can't get this resolved before January 1st. Something will happen early next year to get this tax situation straightened out for the middle class, and anything can be done retroactively. So yeah, they could be spending Christmas in Washington.
You know, it is the hot-button topic. Earlier today, President Obama held a press conference on gun control and the issue in Newtown. And the press corps, for the first 15 minutes or so of that press conference, was talking nothing but fiscal cliff. So it is the hot topic these days, isn't it?
Well, and I think, and I don't think it's any kind of insensitivity, you know, definitely to what happened in Newtown. I think that there's more of an immediacy in terms of what Washington has to do. Then the president, as he said, held a press conference where he announced, you know, kind of a task force of administration officials to look into gun violence. Well, that's in the future. The fiscal cliff is today. You know, it's you know, within 2 weeks from happening. So I think that's probably, you know, why the press corps, you know, immediately went to those questions, because it's something that, you know, you've got to know now what they're going to do.
Chris Castell, we appreciate the analysis, and as always, thank you for your time.
Glad to do it, Dave.
Happy holidays to you and yours, sir.
And to you, thanks.
All right, more from Chris Castell can be found on newsok.com and, of course, in the Oklahoman.